Hello, my name is Marcus Hayes. I'm 38, a single dad, and I mop floors for a living. Not the kind of job you brag about at parties, but it keeps the lights on and food on the table for my son, Tommy. He's 6, all energy and freckles, with a laugh that could melt the hardest day. We live in a one-bedroom apartment on the edge of Seattle's working-class district. Nothing fancy, just a couch that doubles as my bed, a tiny kitchen where Tommy does his homework, and a shelf full of secondhand books we read together every night. It's small, but it's ours, and that's enough. I used to be a Marine. 10 years of discipline, early mornings, and carrying more than my body weight in gear across deserts halfway around the world. I thought I'd seen it all, until my wife, Sarah, died, giving birth to Tommy. One moment she was holding my hand, whispering his name. The next, the monitors flatlined, and I was left with a newborn and a hole in my chest that no amount of training could patch. The Marines taught me how to survive. Tommy taught me how to live. These days, I work the evening shift at West Point Memorial, a high-end hospital in downtown Seattle where the rich send their kids for the kind of care most folks can only dream of. I'm the guy pushing the mop bucket through the VIP pediatric wing, the one with marble floors and private suites that cost more per night than I make in a week. My job is simple. Keep the place spotless, stay out of the way, and don't ask questions. Most nights, I'm invisible. That's how they like it. Tommy comes with me. He's too young for daycare after school, and I can't afford a sitter, so he sits in the staff break room or the hallway outside the VIP wing, reading his picture books or building Lego towers on the floor. The nurses love him. They sneak him cookies and let him color on old charts. He never complains, never asks why we can't have a bigger place or why his friends have moms who pick them up from school. He just grins and says, "We're a team, right, Dad?" And I nod because we are. It was a spring afternoon. One of those rare Seattle days where the clouds part and the sun spills gold across the city. I just clocked in for my shift, my uniform still damp from the rain outside, when I wheeled my cart toward the VIP wing. The hallway was quieter than usual, the kind of quiet that feels heavy, like the air's holding its breath. I was scrubbing a scuff mark off the floor when I noticed it. A birthday cake sitting on a table in the common area, untouched. 2 layers, chocolate frosting, 7 candles unlit. And in front of it, 2 little girls in wheelchairs, staring at the cake like it was a puzzle they couldn't solve. They were twins, I could tell right away. Same dark hair, same sharp cheekbones, same wide eyes that looked too old for their faces. One of them, the louder one, had her arms crossed, her chin jutted out like she was daring the world to disappoint her again. The other was quieter, her hands folded in her lap, her gaze fixed on the cake's frosting roses. Neither of them was smiling. No parents, no nurses, no balloons, just the cake and the silence. I should have kept moving. My job was to clean, not to get involved. But Tommy was trailing behind me, dragging his backpack, and when he saw the girls, his eyes lit up like he'd found buried treasure. "Dad," he whispered, tugging my sleeve. "They're sad. It's their birthday, and they're sad." I glanced at the clock. I had 10 minutes before my supervisor did her rounds. I could have walked away, finished my route, and forgotten the whole thing by morning, but Tommy was already inching closer, his sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. "Hi," he said, bold as ever, planting himself in front of the girls. "I'm Tommy. It's your birthday, right? Why aren't you eating cake?" The louder girl, Emma, I'd learn later, looked at him like he'd just asked why the sky was blue. "Nobody's here to cut it," she said, her voice sharp but wobbly, like she was holding back a flood. The quieter one, Lily, didn't speak at all. She just traced a finger along the armrest of her wheelchair, her eyes flicking to Tommy and then back to the cake. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was the way Emma's bravado cracked at the edges, or the way Lily's shoulders curled inward like she was trying to disappear. Maybe it was Tommy standing there with his gap-toothed grin, refusing to let the moment stay broken. I set my mop against the wall and stepped forward, my hands still damp from the bucket. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice low so I wouldn't spook them. "Mind if my boy and I help out? We're pretty good at blowing out candles." Emma's eyes narrowed, sizing me up, probably wondering why the janitor was talking to her. Lily glanced at me, then at Tommy, her fingers twitching like she wanted to reach for something but didn't know what. I knelt down to their level, resting my hands on my knees. "I'm Marcus," I said. "This is Tommy. We don't have a cake today, but we've got some serious lung power. What do you say, can we join you?" There was a pause, the kind that stretches just long enough to feel like a lifetime. Then Emma shrugged, a small, defiant gesture that didn't quite hide the hope in her eyes. "Fine," she said, "but you have to sing, too." Tommy whooped and scrambled to the table, already grabbing a plastic fork like he owned the place. I lit the candles with a match from the nurse's station, 7 flames flickering in the quiet room. The girls watched, their faces caught between suspicion and something softer, something that looked a lot like wanting to believe this wasn't a trick. "Happy birthday to you," I started, my voice rough but steady. Tommy joined in, off-key and loud, his hands waving like he was conducting an orchestra. Emma's lips twitched, then curved into a grin. Lily's eyes widened, and for the first time she leaned forward, her hands gripping the arms of her chair. When we hit the final note, Tommy took a deep breath and blew, with everything he had. I followed, and the girls leaned in, their breaths shaky but determined. The candles went out in a puff of smoke, and for a moment the room felt lighter, like we'd chased away something heavier than wax and flame. Emma clapped, her laugh sharp and bright, like glass breaking in a good way. Lily didn't laugh, but she smiled, a small, real smile that reached her eyes. She looked at Tommy, then at me, and whispered something so soft I almost missed it. "Thank you." I stood there, my hands in my pockets, feeling like I'd just done something bigger than I understood. Tommy was already cutting the cake with a plastic knife, handing out sloppy slices like he'd been invited to 100 birthdays. The girls ate, their faces smeared with frosting, and for the first time since I'd started working at West Point, the VIP wing didn't feel cold. I didn't know it then, but that cake, those 7 unlit candles, was the start of everything. It was the moment 2 worlds, mine and theirs, collided in a way neither of us could have predicted. And it was the moment I realized that sometimes the smallest acts, asking to blow out someone else's candles, can change the course of a life. The next few days blurred into a routine I never expected. I'd finish my rounds in the main corridors, then sneak Tommy into the VIP wing with a quick nod to the night nurse who'd started looking the other way. The girls were always there, parked by the big windows that overlooked the hospital garden, Emma spinning her wheelchair in tight circles, Lily tracing patterns on the glass with her finger. Tommy would burst through the door like a tornado, backpack bouncing, and the room would shift. It wasn't just quieter anymore. It was alive. Emma took to him first. She was the talker, the one who'd bark orders like a tiny general. "Tommy, push me faster," she'd demand, gripping the wheels as he shoved her chair down the hall, both of them laughing so hard the nurses poked their heads out to shush them. Lily was different. She watched from the sidelines, her sketch pad balanced on her lap, her pencil moving in slow, deliberate strokes. But Tommy didn't let her stay on the sidelines. He'd plop down next to her, peer over her shoulder, and ask, "What's that one?" Pointing at whatever she was drawing. A bird, a dragon, a girl with wings instead of legs. One afternoon, he brought a roll of butcher paper from the art therapy room and spread it across the floor. "We're making a racetrack," he declared. Emma was all in, grabbing markers to draw lanes and finish lines. Lily hesitated, her fingers tightening around her pencil. Tommy didn't push. He just handed her a blue marker and said, "You can do the sky. It's the biggest part." She took it, her hand shaking at first, then steadier as she filled the top of the paper with sweeping clouds and a sun that looked like it was smiling. I watched from the doorway, my mop forgotten. The girl's nurse, a kind woman named Rosa, caught my eye and gave me a small nod. "They haven't asked for their mother once this week," she whispered. I didn't know what to say to that. Victoria Sterling was a ghost in her own children's lives. I'd see her sometimes gliding through the wing in her tailored suits, her phone glued to her ear, her heels clicking like a metronome. She'd pause at the door, glance in, and leave without a word. Once she caught me helping Emma adjust her footrest and froze, her eyes narrowing like I'd crossed a line. I expected her to say something, anything, but she just turned and walked away. I figured that was the end of it. But the kids didn't care about boardrooms or stock prices. They cared about who showed up, and Tommy showed up every day. He taught Emma how to drift her wheelchair around corners using the brakes. He sat with Lily for hours, narrating stories about the pictures she drew, knights riding wheelchairs, princesses with rocket boots. And slowly, Lily started talking back. Not much at first. Just a word here, a nod there. But one day she looked up from her sketch pad and said, clear as anything, "Can I be your sister?" Tommy didn't miss a beat. "Already are," he said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Emma rolled over, her chin high. "Me too, but I'm the boss sister." Lily smiled, a real one, the kind that crinkled her nose, and I felt something loosen in my chest. I started bringing snacks. Peanut butter crackers, apple slices, whatever I could afford. The girls devoured them like they hadn't eaten in days, which maybe they hadn't, not real food, not like this. Rosa told me their mother had hired a nutritionist to plan their meals, but the trays always came back untouched. "They don't want kale smoothies," she said. "They want to feel normal." Normal. That word stuck with me. My normal was a 6-year-old who fell asleep on my chest every night, his breath warm against my neck. Their normal was a mother who loved them from a distance, too scared or too busy to bridge the gap. I didn't judge her. Not yet. I didn't know her story. But I knew what it felt like to lose someone and still have to get up every morning. I knew what it felt like to be the only parent in the room. One evening, Tommy decided we needed a restaurant. He dragged a side table into the middle of the room, draped a paper towel over it like a tablecloth, and declared it Le Fancy Café. Emma was the chef, Lily the artist who designed the menu, crayon drawings of pizza and ice cream sundaes. I was the waiter, taking orders with a seriousness that made them giggle. Tommy was the customer, demanding extra sprinkles and tipping me in pretend coins made from foil wrappers. We were in the middle of serving spaghetti, string cheese pulled apart, when Lily looked up at me, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you think we could do this at home?" Emma stopped mid-laugh, her eyes flicking to her sister, then to me. I didn't know what to say. Home wasn't a place they talked about. It was a concept, something far away and out of reach. I knelt down, meeting Lily's gaze. "Maybe one day," I said. "But for now, this is our place. Deal?" She nodded, her fingers curling around mine. Emma reached over and squeezed my other hand. Tommy, oblivious to the weight of the moment, yelled, "More spaghetti!" And we all laughed, the sound bouncing off the sterile walls like it belonged there. Later, as I packed up Tommy's backpack, Rosa pulled me aside. "You're good for them," she said, "but be careful. Their mother, she doesn't like surprises." I nodded. But I didn't stop coming. I couldn't. Not when Emma started wheeling herself to the door every afternoon waiting for us. Not when Lily's sketches started including a stick figure man with a mop and a little boy with a gap-toothed grin. I didn't know it then, but those afternoons were building something bigger than games and paper tablecloths. They were building trust. They were building a bridge between two worlds that weren't supposed to meet. A janitor and his son and 2 little girls who'd lost more than most adults could handle. And every time Lily whispered, "Sister," or Emma demanded a rematch in wheelchair tag, that bridge got a little stronger. The 3rd Tuesday after the birthday cake, I was wiping down the glass partition outside the VIP playroom when the elevator dinged. I didn't look up at first. People came and went all day. But the click of heels was different, sharp, deliberate, expensive. I knew who it was before I turned around. Victoria Sterling stood in the doorway, still in her navy suit, blazer buttoned like armor. Her hair was pulled back so tight it looked painful, and her phone was pressed to her ear. She ended the call with a flick of her thumb, eyes scanning the room like she was inventorying assets. Tommy was on the floor, helping Lily fold an origami crane. Emma was racing her wheelchair in figure eights, shouting, "Faster, Tommy, faster!" The noise bounced off the walls. Victoria's gaze landed on me. "You," she said, voice flat. "A word." I set the rag on the cart and followed her into the corridor. She didn't stop until we were under the harsh fluorescent lights outside the nurses' station. Up close, she was younger than I'd thought. 34, maybe 35, but her eyes were older, tired in a way that went beyond sleep. "You're the janitor," she said. Not a question. "Marcus Hayes, evening shift." She glanced at my name tag, then back at the playroom. "My daughters seem attached." I waited. She didn't offer anything else. "They're good kids," I said. "Tommy likes them." Her jaw tightened. "I pay for the best therapists in the Northwest. Art, music, equine. They don't need a mop guy playing dad." The words hit harder than I expected. I kept my voice level. "I'm not playing anything. I'm here. They're here. We're keeping each other company." She looked past me through the glass. Emma had stopped racing and was staring at us, her small hands frozen on the wheels. Lily clutched her crane like a shield. Victoria's phone buzzed. She silenced it without looking. "I'm grateful they're not alone," she said, the words clipped like gratitude was a foreign language. "But there are boundaries. Your staff." I nodded once. "Understood." She started to leave, then paused. "Do they talk about me?" I thought of Emma's face when the elevator doors closed without her mother stepping out. I thought of Lily's sketches. Always a woman in the background turned away. "They miss you," I said. Something flickered across her face, too fast to name. Then the mask was back. She walked away, heels echoing like gunfire. That night, Rosa found me in the supply closet restocking gloves. "Dr. Sterling just pulled the girls' chart," she whispered. "She's moving them to the East Wing, private suite, no visitors after 6. I felt the floor tilt. "When?" "Tomorrow." I didn't tell Tommy. He fell asleep on the bus ride home, head against my shoulder, origami crane tucked in his fist. I carried him up the stairs to our apartment, laid him on the couch, and stared at the ceiling until the sky turned gray. The next afternoon, I pushed my cart past the East Wing. The door was closed. A new sign. Authorized personnel only. I could hear Emma's voice through the wall, muffled, arguing, then silence. I finished my shift in a fog. When I picked Tommy up from the break room, he was quiet. "They're gone," he said. "The nurses said they went to a new room. Like a hotel." I ruffled his hair. "We'll see them soon." But we didn't. Days turned into a week. The VIP playroom stayed empty. The butcher paper racetrack rolled up in a corner. Tommy stopped asking. I stopped looking. Then on the 10th night, I was mopping the main lobby when the elevator opened. Victoria stepped out. No suit, no phone, just jeans and a rain-damp hoodie. She looked smaller. Human. She spotted me and walked straight over. "They won't eat," she said without greeting. "Emma's refusing therapy. Lily hasn't drawn in days." I leaned on the mop handle. "Kids need more than kale and schedules." Her eyes flashed. "I know that." "Do you?" The question hung between us. She didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Emma's watercolor. The 5 of us around the birthday cake. She'd added a 6th figure in the corner. A woman in a suit, face scratched out. Victoria's voice cracked. "I don't know how to fix this." I took the drawing. The scratched-out face looked like it had been erased, with tears. "You start by showing up," I said, "not as the CEO, as their mom." She stared at the paper, then at me. For the first time, she didn't look away. The transfer order came down the next morning. A crisp email from facilities. Marcus Hayes reassigned to outpatient corridors effective immediately. No patient interaction in VIP zones. I stared at the screen in the break room, coffee going cold in my hand. Tommy was coloring at the table, humming under his breath. I closed the laptop before he could see. That evening I told him we were exploring new hallways. He bought it for about 5 minutes. By the time we reached the outpatient wing, fluorescent lights, beige walls, the smell of bleach, he stopped dead. "Where's the racetrack?" he asked. I had no answer. The new route was endless. Exam rooms, waiting areas, a vending machine that ate quarters. Tommy sat on a plastic chair, kicking his legs, origami crane crumpled in his fist. "When do we go back?" he whispered. I promised soon. It felt like a lie. Across town, Victoria sat in the boardroom of Sterling Healthcare's glass tower. The agenda was printed in bold. Phase 2, pediatric profit optimization. Harrison Blackwood, chairman, leaned back in his leather chair, gold cufflinks glinting. "The rehab wing's underperforming," he said. "We convert to premium imaging suites, higher margins." Victoria's pen hovered over the contract. The numbers were flawless: projected revenue, cost savings, investor confidence. She thought of Emma refusing to stand in the parallel bars, Lily's untouched sketch pad, the watercolor with the scratched-out face. Harrison tapped the table. "Sign, Victoria, or we'll find someone who will." She signed. That night, she drove to the East Wing in her silent electric car. The private suite was dim, monitors beeping softly. Emma lay on her side, facing the wall. Lily sat by the window, staring at the city lights. Neither looked up when Victoria entered. "I brought dinner," she said, setting down a bag from their favorite Italian place. The girls didn't move. Victoria opened containers: lasagna, garlic bread, tiramisu. The smell filled the room, but no one reached for a plate. Emma's voice was small. "Where's Tommy?" Victoria hesitated. "He can't come here anymore." Lily turned then, eyes red. "Why?" "It's hospital policy," Victoria said. The words tasted like ash. Emma rolled over, tears streaking her pillow. "You sent him away." "I didn't." "You always send everyone away." Victoria reached for her daughter's hand. Emma pulled back. The silence stretched, thick and accusing. Finally, Victoria stood. "I'll fix this," she whispered, but the door closed behind her with a soft click, and the girls didn't answer. Back at the apartment, I tucked Tommy in. He clutched the crane. "Dad," he said, "Lily said she'd teach me how to draw a dragon with fire that doesn't burn. She promised." I kissed his forehead. Promises matter. The next day, I was scrubbing a spill in the lobby when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "It's Victoria. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen until the words blurred. I met her in the hospital garden at dusk. She was in scrubs, hair loose, no makeup. She looked like someone who hadn't slept. "I was wrong," she said without preamble. "About the boundaries, about everything." I waited. "The girls won't eat, won't talk. Emma's physio scores are dropping. Lily's stopped drawing." Her voice cracked. "They ask for you. For Tommy." I leaned against the bench. "Kids don't care about policies." "I know." She pulled the watercolor from her bag, the one with the scratched-out face. "Emma gave me this. Said it's how she sees me." I took it. The figure in the corner was barely there, just smudges where a face should be. "I signed a contract yesterday," she said, to gut the rehab wing, turn it into profit." I looked at her. "And? I'm going to fight it." She didn't say how. She didn't need to. The way she held the drawing, like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart, told me enough. That night, I broke the rules. I wheeled my cart to the East Wing service entrance, Tommy hidden under a pile of linens. The night guard owed me a favor. We slipped inside. The girls were awake. Emma's eyes lit up. Lily dropped her pencil. Tommy ran to them, crane in hand. "I brought the dragon," he announced. "Lily, you promised." Victoria stood in the doorway, watching. She didn't stop us. For an hour, the room was ours again. Origami dragons took flight. Emma laughed so hard she wheezed. Lily drew a new picture, 5 stick figures around a cake, and this time, the 6th figure had a face. It looked like Victoria. When the guard's flashlight swept the hall, I kissed the girls goodnight. "See you soon," I whispered. Victoria walked us out. At the elevator, she touched my arm. "Thank you," she said, "for showing up." The doors closed. I didn't know it then, but that hour was the crack in the dam, the one that would flood everything. The next morning, this East Wing nurse handed me a new badge. Marcus Hayes, emotional recovery coach part-time, no mop, no cart, just a clipboard and a schedule. Victoria had pulled strings I didn't know existed. My pay stayed the same, but the job description changed everything. I started at noon. The girls were waiting in the therapy gym. Parallel bars, mats, a wall of mirrors they hated. Emma gripped the bars, knuckles white. Lily sat in her chair, sketchpad closed. Tommy bounced beside me, clutching a bag of pipe cleaners. "We're making crowns today," he announced. "Royalty needs crowns." Emma rolled her eyes but smiled. Lily opened her pad. Victoria arrived 10 minutes late, still in a blazer but no phone. She stood by the door, arms crossed, watching. I didn't acknowledge her. The session was for the kids. "First rule," I said, kneeling between the girls. "No pity. We fall, we laugh, we get up. Deal?" Emma saluted. "Deal." Lily nodded. We started small. Emma stood between the bars for 3 seconds, a record. Tommy cheered like she'd won the Olympics. Lily drew the moment. Emma mid-stand, crown lopsided, tongue out in concentration. When Emma's legs buckled, Tommy caught her under the arms. "Teamwork," he said. She laughed so hard she cried. Victoria's shadow moved closer. By week 2, Emma walked 10 steps with the walker. Lily spoke in full sentences to the therapists. The nurses whispered, "Miracle." I knew better. It wasn't a magic. It was presence. Victoria started showing up early. She brought real food, peanut butter sandwiches, carrot sticks, juice boxes, no kale. She sat on the mat, legs crossed, and let Tommy braid her hair with pipe cleaners. "You're terrible at this," she told him. He grinned. "You're welcome." One afternoon, the gym emptied, just us. Emma napped on the mat. Lily drew beside her. Tommy built a Lego tower. Victoria and I sat on the bench, shoulders almost touching. "You were a Marine," she said. "Not a question." 10 years, she nodded. "I read your file, Sarah. Complications after delivery?" I stared at the floor. "Yeah. I'm sorry." Silence stretched. Then, "My husband died in the crash. I was supposed to be in the car. Board meeting ran late." Her voice was flat, like she'd practiced the line. "I keep thinking if I'd left on time, you'd be gone. They'd have no one." She looked at me, eyes wet. "I don't know how to be their mom anymore." "You're learning." She laughed, bitter, soft. "By watching a janitor? By watching your kids choose who shows up." That night, she stayed after lights out. The girls slept in their suite. Tommy conked out in the break room. Victoria and I sat in the garden, city lights flickering below. "I fired Harrison's contract," she said. "Tore it up in the boardroom. Told them the rehab wing stays, for kids who can't pay." I whistled. "That's a war." "I've got ammo." She smiled, the first real one I'd seen. "And I'm done hiding." She reached for my hand. I let her. Her fingers were cold. Mine weren't. The next day, Harrison struck back. An email to all staff. Unauthorized personnel in VIP wing, immediate termination. My badge was deactivated by noon. Security escorted me out. Tommy cried in the parking lot. "They can't do this, Dad." Victoria met us at the gate. She looked like she'd aged 10 years. "He's calling an emergency board vote," she said, "to remove me as CEO." I buckled Tommy into the truck. "Then fight." "I will. But I need you back. The girls need you." I looked at the hospital, gleaming, cold. "I'm just the mop guy." "You're the only one they trust." She handed me a key card. Temporary access rehab wing. I overrode the system 1 week. After that, we win or we lose together. I took the card. Our fingers brushed. Neither of us pulled away. That evening, I clocked in under the new title. The girls were waiting. Emma stood in the walker, legs shaking but upright. Lily held a new drawing. The 5 of us, plus a 6th figure in the center, Victoria, holding all our hands. "Welcome back, Coach," Emma said. Tommy ran to hug them. Victoria stood behind, eyes on me. No words, just a nod. The war had started, but for the first time, we were on the same side. The week flew by in a blur of therapy sessions and stolen moments. Emma took her first unassisted steps across the gym mat, 4 shaky strides before collapsing into my arms, laughing through tears. Lily filled an entire sketchbook with stories, dragons that carried wheelchairs, princesses who raced the wind. Tommy was their shadow, their cheerleader, their little brother in every way that mattered. And Victoria, she was there every day, no blazer, no phone, just jeans and a ponytail, learning how to be a mom again one messy afternoon at a time. She started cooking in the hospital kitchenette, grilled cheese with the crust cut off, chicken soup that actually tasted like home. The girls devoured it. Lily even asked for seconds, her voice steady. Victoria's hands shook when she served the bowls, but she didn't hide it. "I burned the first batch," she admitted. Emma grinned. Tastes better burned. Harrison's next move came on a Thursday. A certified letter delivered to my apartment. Termination effective immediately, trespass warning. I showed it to Victoria in the garden at dusk. She read it once, folded it neatly, and tucked it into her pocket. "He's scared," she said. "Good." She spent the weekend in her office, poring over bylaws, shareholder agreements, anything that could buy us time. I kept the girls busy. Wheelchair obstacle courses, origami zoos, movie nights on the projector. Tommy fell asleep with his head in Lily's lap, her fingers in his hair. Emma whispered, "Don't let them take you away again." I promised I wouldn't. Monday morning, the board convened. Victoria walked in wearing the navy suit I hadn't seen in weeks, hair pulled back like armor. She didn't tell me the plan, just kissed the girls goodbye, hugged Tommy, and squeezed my hand. "Hold the fort." The fort held. We turned the rehab gym into a fortress of pipe cleaner crowns and crayon banners. Rosa smuggled in pizza. The girls laughed so hard Emma wheezed. Lily drew a new picture. Harrison as a tiny troll under a bridge, Victoria as a knight with a sword made of light. Victoria came back at midnight. She looked like she'd been through a war, eyes red, suit rumpled, but standing tall. She found us in the playroom, the girls asleep on mats, Tommy curled between them. I was cleaning up glitter. "I did it," she whispered. "Resigned as CEO. Transferred my voting shares to a trust, the Sterling Pediatric Rehabilitation Foundation. Nonprofit. Untouchable." I stared. "You gave up everything?" "I gave up the wrong thing." She pulled a folder from her bag. "Harrison's out. The board's in chaos, the wing stays, and you—" She handed me a contract. Emotional recovery director full-time, salary triple mine, benefits, a future. I didn't take it. "I don't want your charity." "It's not charity, it's a job. You're the only one who can do it." I looked at the sleeping kids, at the drawings taped to the wall, at her, exhausted, terrified, but still here. That night, she knocked on my apartment door. Rain hammered the windows. Tommy was asleep on the couch. She stood in the hallway, soaked, holding a duffel bag. "I sold the house," she said. "The cars, everything. The trust covers the girls' care. I kept enough for a fresh start." I stepped aside. She came in, dripping on the linoleum. "I don't know how to do this," she said. "Be normal. Be a mom. Be anything." I took the bag. "You already are," she cried then, quiet, shoulders shaking. I held her until the storm passed. Tommy woke up, patted over, and hugged her legs. "You can have the top bunk," he mumbled. "I'll take the floor." We didn't sleep. We sat on the couch, her head on my shoulder, talking until dawn. About Sarah, about her husband, about the guilt that kept us awake, about the kids who needed us more than titles or bank accounts. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too." She looked up. "But I choose this. Us. Them." I kissed her forehead. Not a promise, just a beginning. The next day, we moved into a renovated Victorian on the hospital grounds. Wheelchair ramps, wide doors, a kitchen big enough for 5. The girls picked their rooms. Tommy claimed the attic. Victoria hung Lily's drawings in the hall. I built a bookshelf from scrap wood. Harrison tried one last play, a lawsuit, a smear campaign. It crumbled. The foundation's board, parents, doctors, kids like Emma and Lily, voted unanimously to keep the wing open. Victoria testified in jeans, no lawyer. The judge ruled in our favor. We didn't celebrate with champagne. We celebrated with cake, chocolate, 7 candles, 5 people blowing them out. Emma walked to the table on her own. Lily cut the first slice. Tommy smeared frosting on my nose. Victoria laughed until she cried. That night she tucked the girls in. I read Tommy his story. When I came downstairs, she was at the kitchen table staring at a blank page. "What's this?" I asked. "Our future," she said. "I don't know how to write it." I sat beside her. "We don't have to. We just live it." She leaned into me. Outside, the first snow of the season started to fall. Early, unexpected, perfect. The months after the move settled into something that felt like breathing for the first time. The Victorian house on the hospital grounds became ours in ways no deed could define. Emma's walker gathered dust in the corner. She preferred crutches now, thumping down the ramp I'd built with scrap lumber from the old rehab wing. Lily's sketches covered every wall. Dragons with wheelchairs, knights on crutches, a family of 5 holding hands under a sky full of stars. Tommy appointed himself chief fort builder, dragging blankets and couch cushions into epic structures that collapsed nightly in laughter. Victoria learned to grocery shop without a personal assistant. She burned pancakes, over-salted soup, and once set off the smoke alarm making toast. Each disaster ended in giggles, the girls rating her efforts on a chart taped to the fridge. She kept the chart. I kept the burnt toast as a souvenir. I ran the rehab wing by day, coaching kids who'd been written off, turning parallel bars into racetracks, art therapy into story time. Victoria sat on the foundation board, but only in jeans, her vote the loudest for every kid who couldn't pay. Harrison's lawsuit fizzled. The judge's ruling cited community interest and closed the case. We didn't hear his name again. Spring turned to summer, then to the crisp edge of fall. The girl's 8th birthday loomed. Victoria planned for weeks. Secret menus, a cake shaped like a dragon, balloons that Lily insisted had to be wheelchair accessible. She didn't hire caterers. She baked. The kitchen looked like a war zone, flour in her hair, frosting on the ceiling. I walked in to find Emma licking a spoon, Lily piping roses with a concentration that could have balanced the national budget. "You're all fired," I said. "Too late," Emma shot back. "You're eating dragon cake whether it poisons you or not." The party was small. Just us, Rosa, a few kids from the wing, and Catherine, Victoria's former assistant who'd become our unofficial aunt. We set up in the backyard under string lights I'd salvaged from the hospital lobby. The dragon cake wobbled but stood. 8 candles, 4 for each girl, flickered in the dusk. Victoria knelt between the girls' chairs. "Make a wish." Emma closed her eyes tight. Lily looked at me, then at Tommy, then at her mom. She didn't close her eyes. She just smiled. Tommy bounced. "I'm wishing for a puppy." "You already have a goldfish," I reminded him. "Goldfish don't fetch." We counted down. 5 voices, 1 breath. The candles went out in a single puff. Cheers erupted. Cake was served on paper plates, frosting smeared on noses, laughter louder than the music. Later, when the guests had gone and the stars came out, we gathered in the living room. The girls were wired, sugar-fueled, refusing bed. Victoria sat on the rug, legs crossed, hair loose. I leaned against the couch, Tommy half asleep on my lap. Emma wheeled closer, crutches across her lap. "Mom," she said, voice serious, "we need to ask something." Victoria's smile faltered. "Anything." Emma looked at me. "Can Marcus stay, like, forever? Not just for sleepovers?" Lily nodded. "We want him to be our dad. For real." The room went still. Tommy's eyes snapped open. Victoria's hand found mine. I swallowed. "Kids." "Wait," Victoria said softly. She turned to the girls. "What does for real mean to you?" Emma didn't hesitate. "It means he tucks us in and reads the dragon books and builds ramps when we need them and stays when it's hard." Lily added, "And loves us even when we're cranky." Tommy raised his hand. "And shares his ice cream." I laughed, the sound catching in my throat. Victoria's eyes were wet but steady. "I already do all that," I said. Emma rolled forward until her knee touched mine. "Then make it official, so no one can send you away again." Victoria squeezed my hand. "What do you say, Marcus?" I looked at them, my son, these 2 fierce girls. This woman, who'd traded a corner office for burnt toast and bedtime stories. I thought of Sarah, of the promises I'd made to a newborn in a hospital room. I thought of the hole in my chest that wasn't empty anymore. "Yes," I said. "Forever starts tonight," the girls squealed. Tommy launched himself at me, nearly knocking me over. Victoria kissed my cheek, then the girls piled on, a tangle of arms and crutches and joy. Outside, snow started to fall, early, unseasonal, perfect. We didn't notice at first. Then Lily pointed. "It's snowing!" We spilled onto the porch. The girls lifted their faces to the flakes. Emma caught one on her tongue. Lily held out her hands, watching them melt. Tommy ran in circles, arms wide. Victoria stood beside me, shoulder to shoulder. "Think they'll remember this?" she asked. "Every second." She slipped her hand into mine. "Good, because this is our story now." The snow kept falling, soft and silent, covering the ramps, the dragon cake crumbs, the life we'd built from broken pieces. 5 people under one roof, chosen, not born, a family. I used to think home was a place you lost. Turns out it's a place you find when you stop running and start showing up.